Hello everyone, I just want to start. I'm so humbled to be here with all these inspiring stories and to have this opportunity to share my own story. So I'm going to start with a quote that's very close to my heart. And it's by a person called Alan Turing, and some of you may have heard of him. And Alan basically said, sometimes it's the people no one can imagine anything of who do the things no one can imagine. Now, Alan saved millions of lives when he broke the enigma for the German ciphers, which then allowed the Allies to go on and win World War II. He saved millions of lives by doing this, and yet he was personally persecuted because he didn't fit the system of his time. I'm now going to take you to a moment in your life where you have felt less than. It could be that you have invested lots of time and energy into multiple job rounds for a job that you really want, and in the end, you didn't get it. It could be as simple as you've gone on a date, you really fancy someone, the next day you text them and they ghost you, right? You tell yourself it doesn't matter, but it does. And what do? We replay it in our minds. We question ourselves. We may feel sad, even angry, but ultimately we shrink just a little bit. And then we process it and we eventually move on. Now think of that moment, not as a moment, but as a feeling, as a pattern of thought felt every single day from the age of 4 years old. That was my son, that was William. So my family came to the UK in the 1950s as part of the Windrush generation. They were not wealthy. They arrived here with just their suitcases, with hopes and beliefs that their children can have a better life in the education system over here. The mantra in our family was very simple. You work hard at school, you work hard at university, you get a good job. And that was how success was painted to us. And that is what my siblings did. My brother became a doctor, and both of my sisters are lawyers. And then there was me, the baby of the family. And I pride myself in doing many firsts that my siblings didn't do. I was the first to fail my A-levels. I was the first to go into a university and choose a course that didn't sound like a real degree. I mean, what on earth was business and marketing, I was told, which then translated into, well, at least she's at university. And then I did, which most of us do, I graduated, I got a job. I got a job in digital advertising. I mean, again, back then, no one knew what the hell that was. But hey, I was getting paid, and it was a lot of fun. I ended up at Microsoft, leading a global creative tech team. And yes, we were the ones responsible for freezing your screens. You're welcome. I met my husband there, we got married, we built a home, and life was good. And then I had my first child, I had William. I should have known that William was always going to do things on his own terms by the way he was born. 6 hours flat, no time for my carefully thought out hypnobirthing plan, no time for painkillers, boom, you're handed your baby, welcome to motherhood, now basically get on with it. By the time he was 3 years old, William was diagnosed with autism and ADHD. By the time he was 5 years old, he'd only just learnt how to speak, but even then it wasn't like his peers. Now, when you look at William, he looks like all the other boys and girls. You couldn't see his challenges. What you could see was a child that zoned out when you spoke to him because we were using too many words and he didn't understand it, or he was hyperactive and running around because he was overstimulated by his environment. Now suddenly, I was living two truths. On the outside, I had succeeded in this system. On the inside my home, I was watching someone that I deeply love struggle to fit in, struggle to understand, and struggle to belong. You see, every day, William was going into a building that measured him on his weaknesses. And every year, for 6 years, I would have a knot in my stomach every time I would have to go to parents' evening. I would go to these evenings and see these parents having these productive conversations with the teachers on the growth of their child. And every year, I was being told the same thing. Your child is not working towards age-related targets, i.e., your child is not good enough. And when you hear this year after year, and you live it day by day, you become smaller and smaller until you have no voice. And then one day, I was randomly reading, and I came across the Alan Turing quote. And something in me ignited, and I awoke. And I realized it wasn't William that needed changing, it was the system that needed changing. And I started looking at all the rigid structures that we have in our education institutes in this country. and realised that if I wanted to see real change in the education system, I had to be part of this change. So, at the age of 40, with 2 active young children, I went back to school and I re-studied in early years education, and I became a special education needs teacher. Early intervention is key. You see, by the time a child is 5 years old, 90% of their brain has already developed. So it is in this window a child learns that they're either a talent to be nurtured or a problem to be solved. So 6 years ago, I founded Imagination Preschool, and my vision was to have a curriculum that every child could access despite their learning style. We have a very visual, creative curriculum, and we incorporate the senses, so what they can see, touch, hear, etc., to create a 360 immersive learning environment so that every child can thrive and every child can be the best that they can be. Now, just by making these small adjustments to the way that you teach, you can celebrate all children's unique strengths and focus less on the barriers to learning. No child will ever come to Imagination Preschool and ever feel that they are too much or not enough. So anyone that knows me knows that I'm not shy of using my voice. But what this situation with William forced me to realize is that the voice I had been using for the majority of my life wasn't actually my own voice. It was a voice that had been conditioned from the system that I was living in. And through William's silence, his stillness, that allowed me to reflect and to turn off all the noise around me and to really realize and hear clearly for the first time what my true voice was and what my true purpose was. So if you know someone like William, or you feel like William, where you feel disconnected, you don't belong, lost, that's okay. That's not failure, right? It's in those moments when you feel you don't belong, those are the moments where the greatest ideas are formed, new paths are forged, and real positive change can happen. Now, like how Alan Turing didn't fit into the system of his time, despite his great work, William doesn't fit into the education system of our time. But that system has greatly underestimated William. Before I show you a short video about a glimpse of his journey from his eyes, William will be on our national TVs at the end of summer, and he's using his platform to really inspire other children like him that there is hope, that with the right support and guidance, they can shine. So hopefully this will work.
Hi, I'm William. I'm 15 years old, and I've been playing the piano since I was about 2. I didn't start speaking until I was 5, and even then it took a while to catch up with the other kids. So instead, I used the piano as my voice. I found it hard at school sometimes, listening and focusing what teachers said in lessons. But when it looked like I was staring out the window, I wasn't daydreaming, I was conducting whole symphonies in my head. While other kids were learning algebra, I was composing my own piano etudes in my imagination. I know what it feels like to be different, so you're not alone, to fidget, because sitting still all the time feels impossible, to zone out when things don't make sense, to be left out because you can't communicate like everyone else, to feel like you're always behind. But I've learnt that being different isn't something to hide, it's something to embrace. I don't try to fit in anymore. Instead, I let the world fit around who I am. Music gave me a voice. I want to help other kids like me find theirs too. I am you and you are me.
Thank you.